Tommy's disastrous day.
Tommy's disastrous day.
A loud beeping noise woke Tommy.
Loud beeping noise woke Tommy.
It was still dark. He looked at his clock. It was 4:30 a.m. RK5 was beeping on Tommy's bedside table. Tommy always turned off his little robot friend's power switch when he went to bed. Tommy was puzzled by the noise because RK5's power was still off. Tommy turned on RK5's power and asked him about the noise. My tracking device has been remotely activated. Somebody wants to know where I am, explained RK5. Who could it be? Asked Tommy. And why do they want to know where you are? It must be a Gendrasian, someone from my home planet of Gendros. I don't know who. I don't know why, RK5 replied. The beeping stopped. Tommy left RK5's power on and turned off the bedroom lamp. Tommy tried to sleep. He couldn't because he was worried. He was worried that somebody would take RK5 away from him. Eventually, Tommy nodded off. At breakfast the next morning, Tommy was still thinking about the beeping sounds. What's the matter, Tommy? Asked Tommy's dad. You're very quiet this morning. Oh, nothing. May I leave now? I have to meet my friends at the park. Tommy's mother smiled. Yes, if you've finished eating, but take your sister with you, said Mrs. Tompkins. Okay, said Tommy. Sam, let's go. They arrived at the park. Their friends were waiting for them at the big blue bench. Tommy told his friends about the beeping in the night. It's probably nothing to worry about, said Lucy. It may be an alarm to remind you that RK5 needs oiling or something, suggested Andy. RK5 interrupted. Excuse me, I never need oiling. The noise was my tracking device. It beeps when someone is trying to find out where I am. Well, it's not beeping now.
It's not beeping now.
Let's not worry about it, said Sam. Let's go somewhere, she added. It's the weekend. Yes, said Kim. Let's go to Australia. There are great animals in Australia. Yes, said Sam. Kangaroos and koalas. Tommy asked RK5 whether they could go to Australia. The little robot told him they could and gave Tommy the code to press on his number pad. Tommy entered the numbers. Just as he finished, the beeping sound from the night before started again. There was a flash of light and a cloud of yellow smoke. When the smoke cleared, Tommy was alone with RK5. Something has gone wrong. The smoke is usually blue, not yellow. My friends are not here. And this doesn't look like Australia. The tracking device came on at the same time as the transporter, explained RK5. The interference caused it to malfunction. But what about the others? Where are they? Tommy asked frantically. They have been transported somewhere else. I do not know where. There was a malfunction, said RK5. Tommy felt like crying, but he knew that it would not help. He had to think of a plan. Where are we now? He asked RK5. I am able to answer that question, said RK5. We are on the planet Borth. This is where the tracking signals are coming from. Whoever is trying to find me is on this planet. Did the beeping tracking signal bring us here? Asked Tommy. Yes, and the transporter sent your friends somewhere else, replied RK5. Are you able to transport me back to Earth? Asked Tommy. I can take you back to Earth, but then I might not be able to find your friends. They may be lost forever, said RK5. Tommy was in a real fix. How can I find out where my friends have gone? He asked RK5. There is only one way, said RK5. We have to find Aplixa. She was the engineer who programmed all the RK-class robots. There were 10 RK-class robots. RK-1 was only for testing and never went into production. RK-8 was destroyed in a spacecraft accident. So there are just 8 of us left, explained RK5. Never mind about the history of robots. How can we find Aplixa? Asked Tommy. Do you think she is sending the tracking signals? It could be Aplixa who is trying to find me, said RK5. But whoever it is will know how to find Aplixa. I could set my reverse tracking, suggested RK5. Then we could find out who is sending the tracking signals. Tommy agreed, and RK5 turned on his reverse tracking. A lower beep tone came from RK5. As Tommy changed directions with RK5 in his hand, the beeping got louder or softer. Tommy noticed for the first time that they were on a large step. The steps were arranged in a circle, like in a football stadium. They seemed to be made of a kind of red plastic. Tommy was pleased that the beeps were leading them up the steps rather than down. The steps went so far downward that he couldn't see the bottom. At last, they reached the top step. All around, there were more circles. Some of them had steps that went high into a purple sky.
Some of them had steps that went high into a purple sky.
Others had steps that led down into bottomless pits. Tommy noticed that small doors and windows were spaced around the steps. Tommy and RK5 followed the beeps up the steps of a large circular tower. When they were close to the top, the beeping became very loud in front of one of the doors. Tommy gave the door a push. It opened easily, and he crawled through. Tommy was surprised to find himself in the top of a tree. He looked down and saw that he and RK5 were in a tropical rainforest. The little door closed behind them and disappeared. Now, when Tommy looked up, there were no circles, just purple sky. Tommy made sure that RK5 was safely tucked in his pocket. Then he grabbed onto a vine and swung from tree to tree just like Tarzan. RK5's beeping guided him. Tommy saw something shining in the distance. He stopped to get a better look. It was a huge glass ball as tall as the trees. Tommy continued to swing from tree to tree. He wanted a closer look at the ball. Tommy reached a tree right next to the top of the ball. He looked down through the glass. He saw people inside, but they were not humans. He asked RK5 whether he knew who they were.
"They are from my planet,"
said RK5.
"They are Gendrasians."
"Do you see Aplixa?" asked Tommy.
"No,"
replied RK5.
"but I do see the evil Osnox. And look what he has in front of him."
Tommy looked down and saw 7 little robots. They looked just like RK5. They were trapped in glass cases. To be continued.